Welcome to the Alabama State Department of Education's Protected Populations Enrollment Training. I am Chris Davis, and with me today are LaDonna Rudolph, Sally Meek, and Becky Wilson. The purpose of the training is for the ALSDE to apprise LEAs of common enrollment barriers experienced by protected student populations and how to overcome these barriers while adhering to district enrollment policies and procedures. The protected populations are homeless children and youth, children in foster care, migrant students, English learners, immigrant students, and you will notice we have other. Other will include neglected or delinquent and special education students. But for this training, we will focus on the first 5 on the list. Please review your LEA policies and procedures to be certain there are no barriers to immediate enrollment. Protected populations of students must be immediately enrolled and assistance provided to the family, parent, or guardian. The assistance must include putting the family, parent, or guardian in touch with LEA liaisons, coordinators, or points of contact in an effort to help them obtain LEA enrollment documents. Be certain that all enrollment personnel, central office level and school level, are aware that students who are members of any protected population must be immediately enrolled without delay. This means they are allowed immediate participation in the school day as well. Your federal programs director will assist the LEA with adherence to federal and state requirements. Non-compliance to immediate enrollment can impact LEA and ALSDE funding. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to LaDonna Rudolph.
Hello, I'm LaDonna Rudolph, State Homeless Coordinator. On the title slide, I have included the citations, which explains educational rights and services for children and youth experiencing homelessness. Please take the time to read the statute in its entirety so you can have a clear understanding of the expectations for implementing this law. In short, the McKinney-Vento Act was established in 1987 to protect the educational rights of children and youth experiencing homelessness. The Act has been amended, with most of the recent amendments taking place in 2015, where the Act established 1, the definition of homelessness, 2, describes the challenges faced by families, children, and youth experiencing homelessness, 3, provides an overview of the educational rights and supports available to students experiencing homelessness, 4, ensures immediate enrollment and education stability for children and youth experiencing homelessness. To reiterate those rights, this slide summarizes those relevant amendments. 1, immediate enrollment in school without documentation. 2, school selection, rights to remain in the school of origin or attend the local school. 3, access to transportation. 4, access to educational services and extracurricular activities. And I have included the citation where you can read more about the key rights. Under the provisions of the McKinney-Vento Act, every school district / LEA must have someone designated to facilitate the homeless education program in their district. The major responsibilities include identify students, enrollment, identify needs, coordinate services, organize outreach, professional development, and data collection. Please make sure you know who that person is in your district. Typically, when students show up to enroll in local schools, districts have policies and procedures in place which require parents and students to have with them documents on this slide. School records, birth certificates, immunization records, and proof of residency. For children and youth experiencing homelessness, oftentimes they won't have these items. And not having these items at that time of enrollment must not, I will repeat, must not be a barrier. Subsequently, LEA should have a process in place for obtaining supporting documents. To make certain that districts understand homeless eligibility, let's look at scenario 1. Mr. Upton lost his job. To avoid falling behind on the mortgage payment, the family decided to rent out their house. They moved in with friends. The school bus driver reported that Mr. Upton had been driving his son to the bus stop near the family home. The child's principal said the student must enroll in the school zone for the friend's home. Take a minute to think about, would this student be eligible for McKinney-Vento services? In this case, this student would not receive those services and resources under the McKinney-Vento simply because in this scenario, the student did not lose housing. Although the father lost his job, in this case, he was proactive in renting his home out to prevent falling behind on his mortgage. Please remember that the McKinney-Vento law are reactive and not proactive when making those eligibility determinations. Scenario number 2. Julio Gonzalez is 16 years old. While living in Honduras, both of his parents died. Julio had no one in Honduras who would care for him. Julio came to the United States to live with his aunt and uncle. Their family members are not legal residents in the United States. Julio was a good student in Honduras and is eager to attend high school again. Take a moment to think about if this student would be eligible for McKinney-Vento services. In this case, Julio would qualify as an unaccompanied homeless youth simply because he is not in the physical custody of a parent or a legal guardian, and he is new to his living arrangement. And the district is not certain if those living arrangements will be stable or permanent place for Julio. Therefore, he would show up to enroll in school. He should be immediately enrolled. Scenario number 3. JT is not living with a parent or a legal guardian. He lives with his grandparents. JT has lived with his grandparents for 2 months. However, they are not sure how long he will be able to remain in their home. The home is fixed, regular, and adequate, and intended to be a nighttime residency. Let's take a moment to make a determination if JT would be a student eligible for McKinney-Vento services. Scenario number 3 describes a situation that is more common across the district more often. We are seeing where grandparents, aunts, uncles, and adult siblings are allowing minor children to live with them for whatever reasons. As we all know, if these minor children are school age, they must be enrolled in school. Not having legal custody or guardianship should not be a barrier to enrollment. Again, scenarios 2 and 3 are the scenarios where McKinney-Vento eligibility should be applied for immediate enrollment. Okay, the last page. The final page for homeless education provides resources to the LEA. For understanding those provisions under the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, I encourage everyone listening to visit the Alabama State Plan, the second link to make certain that your district policies and procedures are aligned to the Alabama State Plan for homeless children and youth experiencing homelessness. I'll turn the next part of this presentation over to Ms. Sally Meek.
I am Sally Meek. I'm the foster care specialist at the ALSDE. ESSA Section 1111 G1E lays out how the LEA can ensure education stability for children in foster care. LEAs must ensure that children in foster care remain in their school of origin unless it is determined that it is not in the child's best interest. The determination would be made through a best interest determination process. If it is determined that it is not in the child's best interest to stay at the school of origin, the child should be immediately enrolled in the new school, even if all the records normally needed for enrollment are not available. The new enrolling school should immediately contact the school of origin and request the student's records. The LEA foster care point of contact and the DHR point of contact must annually collaborate to develop or revise the foster care plan, which is a step-by-step plan that provides education stability for children in foster care. It is important that you ensure that all personnel know the contact information for the LEA foster care point of contact. This slide includes examples of potential barriers to enrollment. A student has not paid a fee to attend school in the LEA. DHR does not have the court order at the time of enrollment. Photocopies of enrollment documents were provided rather than original documents. The enrollment officer is out of the office. A parent arrives to enroll a child at an inconvenient time for the enrollment staff. Scenario 1 includes a barrier to enrollment. Take a moment to consider what might be the barrier to enrollment as I read scenario 1. A foster parent arrives to enroll a child on Friday at 2 o'clock. The foster parent states that the child was placed in her home Thursday afternoon. The foster parent is asked to return and enroll the child on Monday morning since it is so late in the school day. The barrier to enrollment in scenario 1 was asking the parent to return for enrollment. Scenario 2 includes a barrier to enrollment. Consider what might be the barrier to enrollment as I read scenario 2. A DHR caseworker arrives to enroll a child from out of state at a high school in an Alabama LEA. The caseworker informs the LEA enrollment officer that she does not have a copy of the child's transcript. The caseworker is instructed to return and enroll the child once a transcript has been obtained. The barrier to enrollment in scenario 2 is that the enrollment was delayed because a document was missing. Now we will look at Title I, Part C, migrant students. We will look at enrollment issues as they relate to these students. I am the Migrant Education Program Director. A migratory child is defined as a child between the ages of 0 and 21 years of age who moves frequently so that a family member can work in agriculture or fishing due to an economic need. There are 5 program purposes in ESSA for the education of migratory children. Number 4 relates to immediate enrollment. Purpose number 4 for Title I, Part C is to help migratory children overcome educational disruption, cultural and language barriers, social isolation, various health-related problems, and other factors that inhibit the ability of such children to succeed in school. Any barrier to enrollment inhibits the ability of a migratory child to succeed in school. This slide includes barriers to enrollment that are commonly seen with migratory children. The parent is given a paper enrollment packet and asked to return and enroll the child when it is completed. The parent is asked to complete an electronic enrollment process at home. The parent is told the enrollment must be completed at a later date. A child or another student is asked to interpret for the parent. This slide includes more enrollment barriers that are commonly seen with migratory children. The parent is asked to bring an interpreter to the school for assistance. The enrollment instructions are only available in English. The parent is not allowed to enroll a child until all LEA required documents are available. Please be aware that all LEAs have a migrant program and a migrant liaison. Scenario 1 includes 4 enrollment barriers. Consider what they might be as I read the text. Scenario 1 reads, a parent arrives at a middle school with a child. The child tells the enrollment officer that she wants to go to school, but her mother does not speak English. The child asks the enrollment officer what they should do. The enrollment officer hands the child a paper enrollment packet that is translated into Spanish. The enrollment officer tells the child that they can either complete the packet in the school office or take it home. The parent and child take the enrollment packet and leave the school. The barriers in scenario 1 include the enrollment officer is conducting school business with a child. The enrollment officer did not determine the home language of the parent. Translation services were not provided. The enrollment officer did not assist the family with the completion of the enrollment packet. Scenario 2 includes 4 enrollment barriers. Consider what they might be as I read the text of scenario 2. A couple arrives at school on Thursday at 12:15 to enroll their 3 children. The father speaks limited English, but can clearly communicate that he works at the chicken plant, that his wife does not drive, and that they need to enroll their 3 children. The receptionist tells the parents that the counselor is leaving for the day at 12:30 and asks them to return to enroll their children on Monday morning. The father takes off work from the chicken plant on Monday and returns with his wife and 3 children. The receptionist is absent on Monday. The classroom assistant, who is filling in at the front desk, tells the parent that the school is conducting standardized tests that day, so no children can be enrolled. The parents are asked to return to enroll their children on Thursday. The parents leave and do not return to enroll their children. The 4 enrollment barriers in scenario 2 include the school does not have more than 1 person who can enroll students. The receptionist asks the parent on 2 occasions to return at a later date to enroll the children. The classroom assistant has not been trained on immediate enrollment procedures. Translation services were not provided. Scenario 3 includes multiple enrollment barriers. Consider what they might be as I read the text of scenario 3. A mother arrives at an elementary school to enroll her daughter. There is a sign written in English on the front door of the school that states, all enrollments must be completed at the Student Services Center located at 123 Main Street. The mother walks into the office and places a stack of enrollment documents on the counter. The receptionist asks the mother, do you speak English? The mother shakes her head, indicating that she does not. The receptionist points to the door. The mother collects the documents and walks out of the school. The enrollment barriers in scenario 3 include the instructions on the door were in English only. Directions or a map to the enrollment office were not provided to the mother. The receptionist did not obtain a phone number so that someone from the LEA could assist the mother. Translation services were not utilized. An enrollment official was not asked to come to the school and assist the family. Consider how helpful it would be to have an enrollment officer come to your school to assist a family that recently moved to your community. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Becky Wilson.
I am Becky Wilson, the Title III specialist here at the ALSDE. On the screen, you will see a brief timeline of select legal cases and statutes relating to English learners, beginning with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prevents discrimination based on race, color, or national origin in programs and activities that receive federal financial assistance. Next is Lyle v. Nichols in 1974. This case ruling established that failure to provide English language instruction to non-English speaking students was a violation of the Civil Rights Act because they were denied equitable access to an education. The ruling in Castaneda v. Picard in 1981 established the Castaneda Standard, which is a three-part test to evaluate the adequacy of a district's program for English learners. The ruling from Plyler v. Doe in the next year, 1982, established immigrant students are protected by the Equal Protection Clause, which means that their right to a public education is guaranteed regardless of their legal status. The bottom line from this court ruling is in order to provide equitable access, we must enroll students. ESSA in 2015 requires that all English learners receive quality instruction for learning both English and academic content. By tying language to national origin, English learners are legally protected from discriminatory practices that would deny them access to a public education, and the laws have continued to strengthen in ensuring that education for English learners is of high quality. Let's take a moment to define English learner and immigrant students. Starting with English learners, ESSA identifies an English learner as being between the ages of 3 and 21, enrolling in school, who was not born in the United States or whose native language is something other than English, and whose difficulty with the English language interferes with their ability to achieve academically and fully participate in society. ESSA defines immigrant students as being between the ages of 3 and 21, not born in any of the 50 United States, DC, or Puerto Rico, and have not attended a U.S. school for more than 3 years. You will notice at the end of the 3-year mark that those months of attendance do not need to be consecutive. Let's take a moment to discuss that last qualifier of 3 years school attendance. I have an example scenario. Anna is a 7-year-old child who has recently moved to the United States from Guatemala with her family. Anna enrolls in an elementary school in Alabama and attends for 1 year. At the end of that year, Anna and her family return to their native country. After 2 years, Anna and her family return to the United States, and Anna enrolls in a school in Georgia. Should Anna still be coded as an immigrant student? The answer is yes. The timeline is for the cumulative time of attendance, not time from the date of first enrollment. While Anna was originally enrolled in a U.S. school 3 years ago, she has only attended for 1 year. So, after 2 years of attending school in Georgia, Anna and her family return to Guatemala. Another year goes by, and eventually Anna and her family come back to Alabama where they originally started. Anna enrolls in school again. Should Anna still be coded as an immigrant student? This time the answer is no. Anna has cumulatively attended a U.S. school for 3 years and should no longer be coded as an immigrant student in the Student Information System. Your system's best resource for enrollment questions and guidance is the LEA's EL coordinator. All personnel should know who the EL coordinator is for their district. When a school is enrolling an EL or immigrant student, they should follow their district policies and procedures. The Office for Civil Rights has created a fact sheet with information on the rights of all children to enroll in school. Contained in this document are examples of acceptable enrollment policies as well as policies that may not be used by schools to deny enrollment to a child. I have provided the link to this document at the bottom of this slide, as well as a link to their enrollment Q&A document. In the event that a district does not have enrollment procedures, or if those procedures create a barrier to enrollment, you may want to consider the following steps to enroll a child. The first is to ask for as much documentation that they are able to currently provide. Next, assist them in understanding what other documents are needed and work with your EL coordinator to continue to assist with obtaining these documents. Next, you may want to also consider accepting alternative documents that could provide the necessary information. For example, a baptismal document may contain the child's date of birth as well as their parents' names. The crucial factor in this process is that we be willing to take the time to assist these families in not only understanding what information is needed to enroll their child, but also in where and how to obtain it. Now let's look at some scenarios. In the first scenario, a guardian wants to enroll an EL student, but neither the child nor the parent has any documentation. What should be the next step? Enroll the child. With a complete lack of documentation, the district can consider applying McKinney-Vento procedures and follow the LEA's procedures for a potential homeless situation. Scenario 2. A family comes to a school and the guardian wants to enroll a student. The school registrar has a concern for the child's welfare, such as human trafficking. What should be the next step? Enroll the child and then follow the procedures set forth by your district and the mandatory reporting protocol. I have provided several links at the bottom of this slide that you may find helpful. One is for the Alabama DHR, and the other two are related to human trafficking. Scenario 3. A family who recently immigrated to the United States goes to a school to enroll a child. The family indicates they do not have a regular place to live. What is the next step? Enroll the child. Do not ask for immigration documents or Social Security information. However, you may accept them if the family provides these documents for you. Please do not send them away or ask them to return at a later date. And provide assistance with completing the necessary paperwork, such as immunization records, affidavit to prove residency, how they might email or text copies to the school if those documents may be left behind in their home country. Often, the greatest barrier encountered when enrolling EL and immigrant students is the inability to effectively communicate with the families. Please remember that schools are obligated to communicate with parents in a language they can understand. If your system does not have access to a translator or a translating device, the State Department provides every district with access to Transact and MasterWord free of charge. Transact provides common school documents translated into multiple languages. What many schools may not be aware of, though, is that anyone employed by a school district can access these documents by simply using their school email and signing up on their website. There are documents on there such as common health forms that the school nurse may find helpful, or signage such as the location of the school's front office. MasterWord offers remote interpreting services. I have provided the web links to both of these sites, as well as information from the OCR on communicating with parents. Please contact your district's EL coordinator for more information about these tools. In the event that your EL coordinator is not available, you can reach out to your regional EL specialist. This infographic on your screen shows the names, regions, and contact information for all of our EL regional specialists for the 24-25 school year.
As you can conclude from the information provided by LaDonna, Sally, and Becky, it is imperative that students who are members of a protected population are enrolled without delay. Remember, immediately enroll, assist, and then follow up. If you have any questions, please contact us by telephone at 334-694-4516 or at one of the emails provided at the end of the presentation. You can obtain a copy of this PowerPoint in eGap 2.0 under ALSDE resources. On behalf of the Alabama State Department of Education, thank you for taking the time to view or listen to this presentation.